Now, maybe you have thought about, decluttering and simplifying, but you don't know where to start, or maybe you did a bit, but it just didn't last long. Everything just reverted back to normal. Today I want to talk about how you can avoid that, like how you can get started, particularly if you are staring at decades worth of stuff. Maybe you're staring at a whole heap of someone else's stuff. If you share a space, I want to talk about how you can avoid taking on too much and how you can get lasting results. Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura, and nowadays I would probably consider myself a bit of a decluttering expert, but that was not always the case. Back in the day, everything would just be a mess. Trust me, my parents will attest to this. And what I would do is, things would just get to a really bad state. I would wake up one day or just go throughout the day and be so frustrated that I ended up ripping everything out of the closet, putting everything down off the shelves, really just being angry, piling it all on my bed, and then completely running out of steam. Have you ever been there? As soon as step one is done, that's it, you are exhausted. And then I would just be miserable for the next few weeks as I was slowly working my way through all of that crap. But then eventually I would grudgingly finish the job and it would all look great and I'd be mighty pleased with myself. But then inevitably, a few days, weeks, months, probably weeks, more so than months, but it would all just slip back into chaos again. And I would end up, once again, being really frustrated, being surrounded by mess. And round it went. Maybe you have been there, you have tidied a spot in your home, you have organized it, and then you have just ended up backsliding. No matter what you do, the results never seem to last. Trust me, I know what that's like. I know what it's like to do something and just have it be short-lived. So today I want to talk about how, for me, the KonMari Method changed all of that. I'm now 5 years on, I am 35 years old, and after going through the KonMari Method, I have learned a lot about how to get out of that vicious rage purge, regret cycle, and actually get results that last, things that stick. And I have some semblance of order, not pretending I'm perfect or anything, but I have been able to manage to maintain a certain semblance of order around here. The very first thing I learned about how to get those lasting results is to break things down into subcategories. So I know in the KonMari Method, she has a lot of kind of very broad categories. You will know if you've been following me here for a while that I broke that down into subcategories. So instead of, pulling everything out, I would just pull out one thing. Even instead of pulling down all the books, I would recommend just doing one shelf if you are feeling particularly overwhelmed. If you've done this before, you just never got the results. If you've got lots of bookcases, things like that. If you really feel that that is not the way for you to go, or you've done that and it's just ended up in disaster, like me when I would pull everything out, stick with one shelf of books. Or even if one shelf seems too daunting, pull down 5 books and just start there. So start really, really small. It is about those quick wins, those small boosts of motivation for you to see quick results. And that is why in my new course, the Clutter Cure-All, every category starts with a quick win, something that you can do that will instantly give you those results and build up your momentum so that you can continue on. It is also really important that you do not buy anything straight away. I know the temptation there is to rush out and buy a pretty box or something to store stuff, but live with things for a while, particularly if you kind of moved things around. It will just take time to acclimatize to that and to get used to it. Don't just rush out and buy something. See how the system is working for a while. Make some tiny little tweaks and changes. Make sure that you are really happy with the system, or that you really understand how the system works, what's working, what's not working with it. It's also really important to kind of just stick with it for a while, because if you, for example, declutter your papers and you have this many papers left and you think, okay, I can go out and buy a tray that's this size and it's going to hold this many papers, but you also have to think over time, how does your stuff fluctuate, particularly with papers, because depending on how often you're going to go through your papers. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once a month, but during that time you may get an influx of papers. So really your pile may actually be this size. Now every week or every month when you go through it, you may be able to get it back down to this size, but that fluctuation, so you actually may need a tray that is much bigger. And that's why I always say, do not rush out and buy anything straight away. You will end up buying something that long term is not going to meet your needs. Live with it, see how it goes, see what you need over X amount of time. I would recommend leaving it at least a few weeks, just to make sure that the system that you are going to buy, or the box that you're going to buy, or whatever you are going to buy, is actually suitable for your situation. Do not buy anything unless you know for a fact that you have a very specific use for it and you know it is going to fit. Very often, particularly in IKEA, it's my happy place, but I will go and I will see something and think like, oh, that would be perfect for these bits and bobs or whatever, and then I buy it and I get it home and it doesn't fit the space, or it just doesn't look right, or it doesn't, you know, there's something lacking in it. I'll give you actually a very recent example. We had a really big cutlery drawer insert and it just didn't really fit, and I was looking out for a smaller one, and then one day I happened to be in a store, I saw one, a little nice neat bamboo one. I thought, great, answer to all my prayers. Bought it, took it home, would not fit my knives. My knives were like millimeters too long for it. It ended up just being a complete waste of money. I had to go back, replace it with something else after I had, you know, properly measured and figured out what was actually going to work. And I talk about like plenty of strategies in my Clutter Cure-All course, but one of the very specific ones that I will give you now is measuring everything. Measure your stuff so that if you are out and about and you find a system that you think will work for you, you will know for a fact that the things that you want to put in it will fit in it, and also that the space that you have will be big enough to accommodate whatever it is. So measure and keep a list with you. That is just one of the strategies to make sure that what you are buying will actually work for the system that you have or the thing that you want it to do. And just leading on from that, I would say to make small changes, not sweeping changes. I am one of these people, I need to see like fast results. I need to see visual progress or I get very frustrated very quick. I'm a very impatient person. So my tendency is to kind of see something, see that it's not working and just get rid of it and try something new. But I have learned over the years from doing that repeatedly, making the same mistake over and over again, but finally I have learned to look at the system and figure out what about the system is working and what is not working. The tendency is to, you know, something is not working about the system and you just abandon the entire thing rather than taking the time to figure out what is working and what's not working. And then often it will only take like a little tweak or a change to make the system great rather than trying to scrap it and start all over again from scratch. Again, in the course, we have a section that is dedicated to maintenance, kind of like where to go from here, where to go when you're finished your decluttering journey, the things that you will need to do, how to stop yourself from backsliding, how to get those lasting results. And then from there, like once you have done everything, once you have decluttered things, it is really important to be able to stay on top of things. Again, I mentioned this in the course, but it is really important to set yourself a regular reminder. So every week I do what I call a weekly reset, and part of that is going through my papers and tidying off my desk. And if I did not have that regular reminder for myself, I would just let things build up until eventually they were like unmanageable, just like at crazy levels, but I wouldn't necessarily remember to tackle it until it was a big problem. So those regular reminders are really, really important to stay on top of things. I know there are certain things like that that just aren't fun, but the reality is that you will have to do them at some point. I would rather spend a few minutes every week going through papers than, you know, waiting a few months and then maybe having to spend an hour or more going through them, at which point I'm going to be really, really frustrated. You know, really it comes down to you're going to have to spend the same amount of time on it. It just comes down to whether you are going to do it in small chunks, small, very manageable chunks on a regular basis, or whether you are going to let it pile up and get back to that stage where you are, like me, going through another rage purge. Do it while it's small and manageable, and you will never have to get to that stage where it is huge and unmanageable. Again, I go through some more of those strategies in the course. So if you are in that situation where things have just got out of hand, where your well-being is suffering, like for me, I was just constantly frustrated. Everything was really annoying for me. Everything was difficult to reach. It was, I would have to spend ages clearing a space if I wanted to do anything. If you are in that situation, then please do sign up for the course. I guarantee it's going to change things for you. You are going to be able to do things much more easily, and you are going to get those lasting results that you want. It is going to save you from just those horrible feelings where you're staring at chaos all day. When you see visual clutter, it doesn't make you feel good. If the first thing you see when you open your eyes is clutter, maybe it's a pile of clothes on the floor or on a chair, maybe it is, you go into your bathroom and all your toiletries and cosmetics and stuff are just in a mess. That does not make you feel good. It's very stressful. It's a stressful environment to live in. Like I said, you may have tried to tackle it previously and it just ended up, you ended up back at square one, basically. That's what this course is all about. It's about taking you through all of the steps and making sure that you are then able to maintain the progress that you have made. I think you all know, if you've watched my videos for any length of time, that decluttering honestly changed my life. It pulled me out of depression because I felt that this was something that I actually had some control over. Like I could control my environment and make it nice, and that made me feel better. And over the years I learned the right things to do. I learned the wrong things to do. I learned to avoid those going forward. I learned how to give myself that peace of mind and to give myself back the space, like physical space, mental space, just that breathing space in my life. It also gave me back a huge amount of time, because instead of constantly cleaning things and having to move things and like clear a space whenever I wanted to do anything, I no longer had those piles of clutter. I could just get straight into doing whatever I wanted to do. So maybe you have like a favorite hobby, something, a craft, something like that, spending time with your family, whatever it is. When you declutter, it cuts down on all of that time that you used to spend doing that, so that you can free that up to do what you actually want and love to do. So if you do want to focus on yourself, if you want to give yourself back that freedom to sit down at the end of the day and have the time and the space to do what's right for you, then sign up at the link below. The doors are opening in just a few days, and the people who are on the wait list are going to get first access and early bird pricing. The doors are only going to be open for a few days, so get yourself on the list if you want to get that reminder that we're about to go live. You'll get your reminder about the early bird pricing so that you can snag that before the price goes up and then eventually the doors close. Like I said, it is linked in the description box below, but this is one of the biggest things that I have done to actually change people's lives. I am so excited to see people transform their homes and just, like to see them fall in love with their space and their time again. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to share this with you, to see the results that you're going to get and to see that they are actual lasting results, that this is going to change your life now and forever. Sign up at the link below. Gur raibh míle maith agaibh agus feici mé sibh sé glua. Slán!